team now. And me and JD had spoke about these two individuals and how it was make or break years for these two players. And they're on the same team, but both of these guys are definitely in maybe like a prove it year, or just maybe prove it to themselves year that they can play. So let's head down to New York and talk about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. So let's do Daniel Jones first. Jones was drafted very high by the New York Giants. I believe it was 6th overall by the New York Giants, and he was drafted ahead of a lot. That his draft class had a lot of talent in it, and I mean talented guys that could spend 10 years in the league and be MVP caliber players. He was drafted ahead of a lot of good guys. And he just his tenure here in the NFL has been up and down and mediocre to kind of say the least. He has shown one or two, like I think he's played 20, I believe he's played 28 games, and only 8 of those games have been on the like positive end. Like he's just very inconsistent. I want to get your thoughts first, Ross, on whether or not you think this is a make or break year for Daniel Jones.
I don't think so. See, my biggest problem with New York, and it's always been my biggest problem, is they always put weapons over protection. They always draft 2 weapons. So how many times have we seen Daniel Jones run for his life? Like legit run for his life. In that division, the first thing you should be thinking about is how do we shore up that front line for this young quarterback? Because if he's running for his life half the game, how many good throws is he going to get off? This is the big complaint I always have about like the Bungles and certain other teams. You've got to invest in your front line. If you don't have somewhere near a top 10 offensive line, you're not going to go anywhere in this NFL. Look at these teams, Cleveland. These guys who can get the pass rush going. You need a solid front line, and they haven't had that in the longest time in New York. That's just my opinion.
Now, JD, you made a very interesting comparison to me. You text me something, and it said, "Is Andy Dalton the next Mitch Trubisky?"
Daniel Jones.
Is Daniel Jones? Excuse me, guys. Is Daniel Jones the next Mitch Trubisky?
Yes.
And would you care to elaborate on that?
So, I think that he has a lot of the same skill set. He's a solid medium range thrower. He messes up easy plays sometimes. He doesn't have a fantastic arm, and he can move his feet a little bit. I shall break this curse. Please break the curse. All right. If you're listening on the podcast, there's a meme that you might want to check out on the YouTube channel. But, man, it's very funny that Ross is sharing with us. Anyway, it's about Justin Fields. It's saying that he's going to break the curse of terrible quarterbacks in Chicago. Although I will say that Cutler wasn't as terrible. I don't know. Cutler and Trubisky weren't as bad as the rest. But yes, we need Fields. Anyway, going back to Justin Fields. Getting back on point. Justin Fields. Or Daniel Jones. I'm sorry. Gosh. All these new young guys.
Justin Fields on the mind.
He's on my mind. All right, Daniel Jones though. Daniel Jones. This is what I'll say about him. I'm gonna say the good thing first. Okay, actually, Daniel Jones was the right pick. New York Giants. He was the right pick.
Really? Over the defensive lineman they could have had ahead.
Okay, all right. Let me back up. He was the right quarterback pick. 3 names I'm going to read off to you right now. Drew Lock, Will Grier, Jared Stidham. Those are your other options. So keep in mind, you might say, oh, well, they're all, if they wanted a quarterback, Daniel Jones was the guy for sure. Because those are your other 3 options in that draft. That draft sucked. unless you got Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was the best player. Daniel Jones was the second best quarterback. Whether you like him or not, he was the second best quarterback. Now it's time for the punishing bad part. He basically is Mitchell Trubisky, and honestly, I think I'd rather have Mitchell Trubisky. If I'm the Giants, I'm looking at next year saying, "Hey, Bills, what would you want a second round pick for that backup you got there?" Just saying, because he probably adds more in the passing game than Daniel Jones does. Daniel Jones looks confused sometimes, like in the passing game. Trubisky didn't look confused. He just wasn't overwhelmingly talented. So if you're just looking for someone to like kind of just run the table with you, then Mitchell Trubisky's your guy. He'll do it for you. But
Ross?
I think Jones is becoming that guy.
Ross, your thoughts?
I think when you see a talent like Daniel Jones on the draft and he falls to you, you can't not take him. Like, again, I look at Daniel Jones as a possible franchise quarterback. He is that type of guy who can do multiple things and has got a good arm. You don't leave someone on the draft board like that. If I was picking at that point, I probably would have taken them, because how strong of a quarterback presence did they really have in New York?
It wasn't. Well, the quarterback draft in that year was not good at all.
Yeah. And again, he was the only good one to pull from the draft, and they needed someone. Who have they seen that's been at any way near potent for that New York Giants team?